Hello everyone, and welcome to what is the final episode of this latest podcast mini-series brought to you by the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs in association with KUHN Farm Machinery. I'm your host Ben Eagle, and in today's episode we're talking careers at KUHN. We'll be focusing in on the career paths of today's guests to hopefully inspire you as to some of the routes available in what is an incredibly diverse and exciting sector. So I am joined today by Tom Sloan, who started as a technical support engineer for Scotland and Northern Ireland. He then joined the sales department as bedding and feeding sales specialist for the North, and more recently he became area sales manager. I'm also joined by Sarah Govier, who began her career in KUHN in the export department. She then moved to KUHN Australia as the marketing and product support manager, and recently she's joined the UK team as parts and amenity pro sales specialist for the South. And finally, I have Thomas Ferrand with me. Thomas started with KUHN France in 2019 in the after sales department as a placement student whilst at university. He then worked as an intern for a year in the marketing department. He then became a farm manager in Romania for a while during COVID, and has now rejoined KUHN, albeit in the UK, as a product specialist in the marketing department. So quite diverse there. Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for coming on to tell us about what you do. Clearly, you all have pretty diverse backgrounds, and your career paths so far have shown the breadth and opportunity in working around the world with KUHN, for example. So I wonder if we could start if we can just go sort of around the room, and if you can sort of tell me what attracted you to joining KUHN in the first place. Who wants to start with this? Tom?
Yeah. Hi, Ben. So what attracted me with KUHN, I started off as served my time with a local tractor dealership. And then from then I moved to Australia myself, done a bit of travelling and seen a bit of life, done a bit of partying. And then when I came home from Australia, it was time to settle down and sort of develop a career. And the job came up with KUHN, and we done a bit of research into KUHN before applying, and they seemed to be going in the right direction. And seemed to be able to tick all the boxes for what I was looking for. That is why I've found myself where I am today, really.
Nice. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, me. Well, to be honest, I'd just finished university at Aberystwyth. I'd been studying Earth Planetary and Space Science.
Okay.
And I'd just seen a random advert in one of the ag magazines, and I didn't really think too much about it and just applied for it. And then, had an interview at KUHN UK. And then the following week got offered for an interview at KUHN Ferrand. And I had a really good experience with all the KUHN people in the interviewing process. And then I'd never really lived in that part of France before, so I thought that was an added bonus.
Fantastic. And Thomas, you started in France?
Yes, for me, I'm a son of farmer, and I use KUHN machinery since I have 12 years old. And it was, of course, my choice to work in agricultural machinery. And in fact, KUHN is a full liner manufacturers, and it was my goal to work for full liner manufacturers and also to travel with this manufacturer and this job. And I have applied as a classic placement in 2018. And it was very good experience for me to discover the after sales department, and to work with some different machine in different sectors like crops, like bedding and feeding, landscape maintenance. So yes, it's a very good experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, as the three of you show as well, I mean, in ag there are numerous different areas that you can go down, different career paths you can go down, whether that's sales, marketing, agronomy, tech, engineering, research. I mean, do you think there's enough awareness of the range of different careers available? I mean, Sarah, perhaps when you were first looking around, what was your perception?
I think it's probably more where the agricultural organisations actually put the adverts for the jobs. I only sort of stumbled upon mine from reading an agricultural magazine, but it depends. Yeah, the different, like you say, the different departments that there are. It's not always advertised in the right places necessarily, if that makes sense.
I think within that agricultural industry, I think if you're involved with industry, everyone knows of what the jobs are, and but out with the ag industry, I don't think the exposure of the career paths in that would be too great, to be honest.
Thomas, when you were first looking at, and especially with KUHN particularly, I suppose, what were they looking for in terms of skills or potential?
In fact, that depends of which department you want to be focused, but in the KUHN company, it's possible to find a great diversity of profile. Some profile is more technical, some other is more focused on sales and marketing. Some other is more focused on support people on the field. In the big company like KUHN, there are opportunities available for many different profiles. Everyone can find the right profile that they want. It's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, Tom, you started in tech support. What was your sort of experience through the recruitment process?
Yeah, the recruitment process was probably new to me. I hadn't done it since I had an interview for my apprenticeship. So with KUHN, they made me do a PowerPoint presentation for half an hour, which was all new for me. But regards to the skills that they were looking for, they wanted to research that you had the base engineering knowledge and you had the correct outlook on the job, I guess, and the correct work ethic.
I don't know which one of you is best placed to answer this, but what about language skills? Does that come in? And is that useful?
Yeah, can I go with this one first?
Yeah, sure.
I think with regards to your other question beforehand as well, I think, to be honest, I think they were just pleasantly surprised when I started at KUHN that I spoke fluent French and that I was from a farming background. Languages does have its place, but it's not the be all or end all either. At the end of the day, international language is English, isn't it? I mean, it obviously helps to understand the subtleties, and there are different cultural differences.
So, Thomas, I'm interested in your time. You spent some time as a farm manager in Romania. Tell me about that experience.
Yes, in fact, in 2020, after the COVID context, it was very hard to find a job because the context was not sure. But I wanted to travel and to work in agriculture. And with some people that I know, I have found a job in Romania as a farm manager for a French holding of 5,000 hectares. On this job, I was in charge to take care of 80 machines and 15 people. It was a very good experience for me. I learned to speak Romanian, so now I also speak Romanian. I also discover some different practice in agriculture. It's more crop agriculture in this country, but with the largest area, without all the support that we know and that we have in UK or in France, for example. It was a very good opportunity for me to develop my contact network in the sectors, but also to do some business with different countries like USA, to import some machine from USA to Romania. Also to work with Ukraine, to import some machine from Ukraine to Romania. Yes, for me, it was a very good opportunity to work as this position on a company like this.
So what about YFC? I think I'm going to turn to Tom first on this. Do you think that being part of YFC helped your development before going into the workplace?
Yeah, I would say it did. All the events and everyone that is involved in the YFC, predominantly that's who you are going to be dealing with within the role. So having something in common and having something else to chat about when you turn up on farm, whether it be in a technical role or sales, definitely had a positive influence.
Yeah, and I mean, our listeners on this particular podcast are probably mostly going to be from YFC. What would you say to them if they're sort of looking at KUHN in particular, but perhaps just a broader career that they're thinking about their different options? What would you say to them at the moment?
Yeah, no, I'd say definitely give it a thought and do a bit of research into KUHN in particular, or if it may be another company. If you were looking for a stable, secure career within KUHN is definitely up there with one of the best, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, you've had quite a few different roles in your career so far. I mean, can you Could you just explain the opportunities for career development at KUHN and how you found working for KUHN so far?
Yeah, well, KUHN, obviously it's a worldwide company, and Sarah will be able to tell you probably better how many employees they have. But when you enter a big company like that, if your mind is not always just set on UK, and you've never ever ruled out the chance of possibly moving to another company as as Sarah has done, these are all just positive things to think about when you're going applying for a role.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah, let's turn to those sort of different opportunities in different countries. You've worked so far in France, in Australia, and in the UK. Have you always wanted to work in different places? And also, can you just go through some of your experiences so far?
Yeah, I didn't particularly want to work in lots of different places. It's kind of one of those things that sort of happened. And I'd sort of say just seize every opportunity and don't underestimate the skills that you actually acquire, because nothing goes wasted. So when I was in France initially, I started off doing the translation, so that was really good to get an understanding of the product, which then sort of helped me grow on into the next step as I became area sales manager for Scandinavia and the Baltics, because already had an understanding of the range and the products. And then that sort of led me on to, as area sales manager, developing more of the relationships with the different importers, and how agricultural the practices in the different countries, and also again the different cultures, and in each country everyone's got different time frames or expectancies. For example, in Iceland, the window of opportunity in hay time for is very short, and then in Australia at the opposite end, seasons are very short windows, so you can miss a season in like 6 weeks. So when you get your machines and how you deal with it is all very interesting. I think as well, the more isolated places or further out from Europe that you go, people have to be a lot more resourceful. So you see a different side as well on how they manage at their end. So yeah, different farming practices and the resourcefulness of certain people. And at the end of the day, that's what comes across. It doesn't matter where you go. The ag industry is very interconnected, and they've got some beautiful characters out there. So it always makes it interesting and joyful to be with.
Thomas, you started your career with a placement and an internship. Did you find those positions a sort of useful springboard for your career, and how did you go about securing them?
Yes, I started like a placement in KUHN France in 2019 now, and this placement now I discovered that this placement was very great opportunity for me in KUHN company, because it's an international company, and it gave me more experience with agriculture practice all over the world. In different sectors, but it's also a good way to develop your contact network in different country. So yes, for sure, this experience was a very great opportunity for me, and this experience allowed me to be here in UK, because if I wasn't a placement in France, in KUHN France, on the headquarters, I think it was more hard for me to get the job here in UK. I'm the first French people to come to work here in UK after the Brexit, and yes, and with the VIA program is an international program for young people in France. And I want to say that it's very easy to come to work in UK. We have some different system to help us with the visa and everything like this. So it's a very good opportunity.
Did any of you have like a career plan? So you started your career with a set idea of what you wanted to do, how you wanted to do it, or has it been sort of take each step as it comes?
To be honest, if 3 years ago someone tell me that it was possible for me to travel to work in Romania, to come back to work in UK after, and to get a job like this, I think I haven't believed them. But now I understand that in these sectors everything is possible. Just need motivation and work with passion. And after, it's very easy to have different opportunities, even more in some very big company like KUHN. My plan was to travel in agriculture world, but travel in agriculture world with KUHN is a very, very good experience.
Sarah, did you have a plan?
No, I didn't. No plan whatsoever. No, I literally just rolled with it. Yeah. And it just opened up opportunities as I went along, really, to be honest. Yeah, no fixed plan, just went with the flow. Yeah.
And Tom, similar?
Initially, and the initial was just very happy to get a job within KUHN, and the job that I went for, the tech role, and then soon after that, it was a path that's, I could see the path sort of in front of me, and that's what I went for.
So what about where you're all going? Where would you like your careers to take you? Have you got any future goals? Tom, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, well, just my recent, I've only been in the role I'm in now since November. So that was my 5-year plan back. So I've managed to tick that off. I need to find my feet, master this role, and then figure out the next challenge, really.
Sarah?
Yeah, to be honest, a bit similar to Tom in this respect, in that at the moment I'm just enjoying rediscovering the UK, because I haven't actually worked here for the last 20 years or so, and meeting the UK KUHN dealer network and learning more about their needs and requirements. So yeah, at this point, I just really want to understand how the UK works. And
so what advice would you give to a young farmers member interested in a career in farm machinery, marketing, sales, or perhaps even in working abroad?
Yeah, my advice would be to get involved for sure, because the experiences and the opportunities that are potentially can be open for you within KUHN, I imagine other manufacturers are very similar. Basically, if you're willing to put the work in, you can go anywhere you want, really. I think certainly within KUHN.
Yeah, I'd just reiterate, seize every opportunity, and don't underestimate the skills that you already have acquired. In my instance, for example, I think it was appreciated and recognised the skills and values that I'd learnt from playing rugby, be that just teamwork, respect, enjoyment and discipline that's involved. So yeah, never underestimate the skills that you do have, because they'll come in handy somewhere, and just go for it.
Brilliant. I think that's a great point to leave it on. That is all we have time for. But a huge thank you to Tom, Sarah and Thomas for joining me today. That's it for this current podcast mini-series, but don't forget to go back and listen to the other 2 episodes, which were about technology and innovation in the arable and the livestock sectors. If you are interested in a potential career at KUHN, you can visit the careers section on the KUHN website and also sign up for My KUHN and the customer newsletter. For now, though, on behalf of YFC and KUHN, thank you very much for listening, and it's goodbye from me and the KUHN team. This podcast was presented and produced by Ben Eagle for the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs. It featured Tom Sloan, Sarah Govier and Thomas Ferrand, and was supported by KUHN Farm Machinery.